This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Drive out with a car!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
And the English Professor.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to another Can Crusher Spotlight. And this is one of those ones that you're like, whoa, who is this? This guy looks like a beast. What the hell is going on? But let me tell you how we got there with our guest. Yeah, you know his name is Dalton Wade. Some of you might know him from some of the indie stuff that he has done around the business. But I get a text about a couple weeks ago from my boy in OVW, Chad Miller, and he's like, hey, you need to check this guy out. You need to reach out to him. You need to make this work. And, you know, you guys know he always feeds me stuff. So I'm like, all right. So I reach out, and, you know, I'm getting a little conversation going with Dalton, and we find out what's going on. And then, you know, I Facebook stalk him, and I Instagram stalk him, and I'm being the weirdo, trying to get as much information on him so I can find out what's going on with this up-and-coming star. And holy crap. First of all, he's a brick shithouse. He's huge. He's built. He's amazing in the ring for being so young in the professional wrestling business. He's pretty damn awesome. Then I find out his backstory, which, guys, ruining everything. We're going to talk about a lot of this during the interview. We just find out his backstory, and it's unbelievable. It really is. So before we get into this, I want to thank Al Snow and Chad Miller right off the bat for connecting myself and my guest this week, Dalton Wade, to do this interview, because there's more to come. There definitely is more to come with Dalton Wade. He's an up-and-coming star, really. He doesn't have a long resume, but he plans to make a name for himself by ruining his competition. So, guys, we'll get into the interview here in a minute, but we want to tell you about everything going on here on Can Crushers. Guys, don't forget to go to ratethispodcast.com/Can Crushers and give us feedback. You know, tell us what you think about the show, how we're idiots. It works for, you know, our spotlights. It works for our weekly shows. Tell us how great we are. No, we know we're great. Come on, we know that. We got Chad Miller sending us people. We got Al Snow talking to us. We know. Justin Plummer, IWC. No, guys. I'm humbling myself. I'm being an idiot today, but that's just the way it is. Go to ratethispodcast.com/Can Crushers and give us some feedback. We'll do what you say. We'll change things around. Maybe you don't want the English professor on the show anymore. We'll kick him off. Fine and dandy. We also want to tell you guys about Cauliflower Alley Club. Guys, they do a lot for wrestlers that have been injured, you know, have passed, have some medical issues. Guys, if you're listening to this and you're a wrestler or you're talent or, you know, you're anything, this is an organization that you guys really should look into. CauliflowerAlleyClub.org. They do a lot for the wrestlers in the wrestling business. We'll feed you back to the B. Brian Blair interview that we did. He talks about it in length. You can go to their website as well, CauliflowerAlleyClub.org, to find all about this great organization. We're part of it. We're big supporters of it, and we'll continue to tell everybody out there about Cauliflower Alley Club. Guys, if you want to be like Chad Miller, Al Snow, Justin Plummer, you know, all these guys, you can send us an email at cancrusher69@gmail.com. We'll answer it. Maybe you'll direct us to somebody else you'd like to hear interviewed. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all of it is at CanCrusher69, and we'll be able to connect there and get some stuff going. We got more in the hopper, as we say. But, of course, you have to hear from our sponsor, which is Collar and Elbow. That's right, guys. We love it. The hats, hoodies, the tees, all the great merchandise at Collar and Elbow. And when you check out, use the promo code Can Crushers. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers, and you'll get 10% off. That's pretty cool. Yep, it's pretty cool to get 10% off. All right, now we'll hear from Al, and then we'll go hear from the man that's going to ruin a lot of people's careers, Mr. Dalton Wade.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. I am so excited to have this man come on to the show. 6'7", over 300 pounds, ripping up the indie circuit. And when you get Chad Miller and Al Snow saying this guy is going to destroy people, you need to reach out to him and have him on the podcast. Welcome to Can Crushers, Dalton Wade.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing well, doing well. That's got to be some praise. You know, you got Chad Miller, which Chad Miller, okay, whatever, who the hell is he? But Al Snow, you know, loves you.
Yeah, I mean, these are two guys that are really, they've done they're like the pinnacle of wrestling in, Kentucky right now. I mean, obviously OVW is the mecca of professional wrestling in the state of Kentucky. If excuse me if I'm a little winded, I'm actually at the gym because I budgeted my time poorly today. Here we are, so I'll try not to sound like a fat guy running up a flight of stairs the whole time. But no, Al Snow and Chad, these guys are really, they're helping me through the process of, kind of finding myself in the ring and, giving to them the best possible product that I can as a wrestler.
Please stop giving praises to Chad Miller and give it all to Al Snow because Chad is a dink. Okay? We love him, but we cannot praise Chad Miller anymore on this show.
Noted.
Okay. Let's do the whole rewind. We're going to go back to Little Dalton. You've been a wrestling fan your whole life, correct? Who brought you into the wrestling?
Well, I mean, I think, I'm not alone in saying that Hulk Hogan was a huge part of it, Ultimate Warrior as well, specifically their WrestleMania match. But, for me it was more, I didn't really have a strong, more positive male role model. So when I discovered professional wrestling, the WWF at the time, that was, because I'm from up north, we didn't really see a lot of NWA. That was, what got me, and once I saw it, I was hooked.
Once you found WWF in the network, well, not the network because that's just recently, but YouTube and everything, do you go back and watch old stuff now too?
Oh, yeah. I go back and relive all the matches that, I used to love growing up as a kid. And I liked a lot of the more unconventional guys too. I was a smaller kid. I was husky, but I was a smaller guy. So I really looked up to like Demolition and LOD, guys that were just physically larger in stature. So, Warlord, the Barbarian. So I go back and actually do a lot of my own research for what I'm, trying to put together, in the ring. Now, I use from going back and referencing these older matches.
And what was your main factor getting into wrestling? But let me sidebar that and have you talk about your past as a powerlifter first.
Sure. Well, I was a competitive strongman for some time when I was up in Massachusetts and in New England, and just a series of injuries that weren't, necessarily career-ending, in the wrestling business or in other sports, but in the sport of strongman, certain things prevented me from being able to actively compete at the level that I was expected to compete at, being a super heavyweight. So I, kind of pulled the brakes on that and started doing charity strongman events, pulling trucks, pulling airplanes, whatever I could do to try to raise money for various causes, because I could still do that. And through that process, and this may be a conversation for another day, I had a young man who I ended up doing a charity event for. He passed away. His name was Dalton. And, now here I am today wrestling as Dalton Wade. It's largely in part in memory of him.
And you talked about OVW, but I always like pushing this with you guys from Louisville now. Why OVW? Because you being from North, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of training centers everywhere. Why Al Snow? He is not your body frame whatsoever.
Well, I mean, my wife and I relocated to Tennessee maybe 5 years ago or so, and that was around the time that I started exploring the idea of, this whole, let's actually jump into the wrestling thing, and started looking for the right place to train, and, long story short, I ended up coming up under the tutelage of Dr. Tom Pritchard and Glen Kane out in Knoxville. So I didn't go through Al's formal training. However, what I can say is since getting to OVW, Al has, essentially changed my ways in the ring to really teach me how to work as a big guy and try to, concentrate on, just more big guy stuff, because contrary to popular belief, it's kind of difficult, in my opinion anyway, and I'm sure my opinion varies, but from others, it is kind of difficult to work as a big guy because you're so tempted to want to do more, and kind of like when Batista got to the WWE at the time. I think it was already WWE. Might have still been WWF. They had to kind of unteach him his Leviathan, monster ways, and retrain him as more of a hybrid athlete, more of an explosive guy. Whereas I'm kind of the opposite, where Tom brought us in, the same as a lot of other, coaches do, where we all work similar. Doesn't matter how big you are, you need to learn the core basics, the fundamentals, how to be safe, how to tell a story. But as far as big guy specific stuff, we didn't really go over a whole lot of that. So Al has just been paramount in my learning how to do it, as well as the other guys at OVW. Jay Bradley, actually, especially, has been giving me some really great advice.
Yeah, we had Jay on the show a while back now, and he prides himself in being the best heavyweight, but he also prides himself in what he can do for people like you, because he's been legit around the world and back, and he's a great trainer, right?
I mean, he's not my trainer. I mean, I just want to make sure that I'm specific on that, because I don't want to take away from the guys that are, full-time ASWA wrestling students, because they're the ones that are in Louisville, nose to the grind, paying their dues day in and day out. I just have the privilege of, learning from these guys when I'm in town once or twice a week. But, yeah, I would consider Jay to be a mentor in a lot of ways.
Better word.
Yeah, I think a mentor's good. He, just the other day, for example, went over with me just some different finer points on my clothesline, because that move seems very basic, but done wrong can make you look smaller, or done right can make you look a lot bigger. And he's just so damn good at, deciphering the two. He's just been very helpful.
Yeah, he's got one of the wicked clotheslines in there. When I was talking to him, I compared his to Stan Hansen, JBL. So yeah, he's up there. He's something to work with.
He's definitely up there.
So he's
out of his mind.
He's out of his mind. He actually told my wife he wants to kill me and they can split my life insurance, and she agreed with it. So that's why making it down to Louisville is only once or twice, maybe 3 times a year now, because I'm legit scared of him.
Sure, and that's totally understandable. But based off of his performance when Impact was in town, all you need to do is get Willie Mack or Moose on your side, and he'll end up on his back for the 1, 2, 3.
Nice. All right. We're building storylines as we go, and I love it.
Jay, don't kill me.
I always do a comparison, who I think after watching film and everything, kind of who you are to me. Tell me how wrong I am. Only one person has agreed with me. But I see you as a Jax Dane Crimson with an Abyss, thrown in on it as well. Am I close?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it really depends on where I am, what ring I'm in, because I've got two different approaches to, who my in-ring personality, so to speak. One is, very monstrous and intimidating, for lack of a better word. And the other is, I think the other would be an accurate statement of what you just said, yeah.
Okay. So that was close. All right, I'm due for probably 150 in the last couple of years. So, you have an amazing story, and I really want you to, even through your grinding at the gym right now, I want you to tell everybody about your story. You tweeted it you put it on Facebook probably at the beginning of February, and it just needs to be told for the masses to hear. So please, I'll open it up to you.
Sure. Let me grab my bottle of water here and take a walk down a hall. Just give me, 15 seconds.
Sure.
Sing a song or do whatever you want to do.
We're good.
Okay. That's all. Just, so I think that there's a certain stereotype that people from New England are born relatively well off, right? Or for lack of a better term, with so much spoon in their mouth. It couldn't be further from the case, especially, in mine. I didn't have it easy growing up. My family didn't have a lot of money, and there were some bad decisions made on, their part, my parents' part. So I've found myself on more than one occasion on my own, kind of fending for myself, and I've now lived on my own since I was 15. So I decided to kind of touch on it on social media because I just find that there is a lot of negativity on social media. I don't think anybody would even argue that at this point, especially in the world of wrestling. So, I don't have a lot to offer in the big picture, right? I'm never going to be the greatest technical wrestler, nor do I want to. I don't want to have these 90-minute matches that are absolutely mind-blowing with 7,000 different technical maneuvers. It's just not me. So as far as in-ring contributions go, that's not going to happen. I do have a personal story that I think a lot of people can relate to, and whether I make it, to whatever you want to consider the top of the business is, now that we've got rival companies, whether I make it there or I'm in the indies or I stop wrestling tomorrow, I just think that by being transparent and, kind of just open with where I've come from, if somebody can relate to that and somebody can see, like they're going through a tough time and they're able to kind of pull through and go after their dreams from hearing it, then I did something right. That that phrase, if you can reach one person, right, you did something. That's all I'm trying to do is just everyone that gets in the wrestling business wants to leave it better than when they found it. And I think that just by being transparent and open and not afraid to be vulnerable to those things, that might be a contribution that I can make. So, yeah, I've been on my own for a long time and just been struggling and trying to fight my way through. And I'm happy with where I'm at today. I do have goals, a lot of them in the business, not all in the ring. To be honest with you, most of my goals are backstage. I want to, if I can snap my fingers, and fast forward to, the end of my time, however that is, whether it's the end of my time or it's just the end of a career, I want it to be in the world of wrestling, in a creative capacity. Storytelling is something I'm very passionate about. I always have been, always will be. And so I think by telling my own personal story and helping to kind of create and develop characters to create other stories in the ring, in a creative capacity or a, producing, content producing capacity, that's my goal. But if I didn't decide to knuckle up and actually go after it, it wasn't going to happen on its own. You know, you can use your personal struggles for your history as an excuse or a motivator. So I just chose to use it as a motivator.
Nice. That's amazing. It really is, and I hope your story touches more people. And when we get off the air recording, I have a few other questions for you, but we'll break on that for now.
Sure.
Follow your social media, like I said, and January 1st, you put out, I don't want to say cryptic, but a good kind of message with a picture of you and kind of WWE. So we're wondering, did you get the invite to go down and work there, or is it just a saying, hey, what's up?
No. There was an email. But it's, as of right now, it hasn't gone anywhere. I can tell you that I don't know, if it will or if it won't. And I also, I'm not saying that in a negative, a negative way. Here's the explanation of my seemingly unenthusiastic tone. I'm actually very enthusiastic. To be honest with you, I'm very happy that we're chatting right now. I'm honored that you would take the time to speak with me. But what I found when I got in the wrestling business early on was that I was stressing myself way too much, way too fast. And I could see that was something that was going to burn myself out when I first, started wrestling, because I'm, a bigger guy, or I have my look, and I know a few people. I was, I told myself, like, it's going to happen 2020, I'm getting signed and this and that. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. How many other thousands of people are saying the same thing and hoping the same thing right now? You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's no sense in me stressing or harping on things that are out of my control. But what is in my control is, and something that I've been actively doing, is just trying to maintain an open line of communication with them and with, as of right now, all of the promotions, or the companies rather, that you would think of, I've at least spoken to or touched base with or been on the radar for. But being on the radar is such a vague, gray area to be, it's, I don't really know any other way to word that. The post that I put up on January 1st it was just because it caught me by surprise that the first email of the new year was from somebody, that's of importance at the WWE. It kind of blew my mind. And I didn't want to fanboy out, you know what I mean? But I wanted to kind of take ownership of that and commit myself to whatever I can do this year to try to reach my goals, whether I reach them or not, by the end of this year or next or the year after, or when I decide to stop in ring work. I will know that I left nothing on the table and that I gave it everything I had. Because on a personal note, when my father passed away when I was 15, I hadn't talked to him in some time. And the last few times I talked to him, he displayed in his mannerisms, his facial expressions, and through very short, half-finished sentences, because he had a lot of pride, that he wasn't satisfied with the way that things turned out. He was 37 years old when he passed away. And that was a tough pill to swallow. So I just promised myself that with this, however it all plays out, I'm going to do the best I can, try to make a positive impact however possible, and know that at the end of the road, wherever it may lead, I won't have any regret in wondering what if, because I saw a lot of what ifs in his face the last time I saw him when he was alive, and I don't want that.
Wow, that's powerful. You really have me at a loss for words right now. That's pretty powerful, and to lay it out all like that is pretty amazing. It's knuckle up or go home, and I like how you said that. I really do.
You look, man. I'll just shoot completely straight with you. I think that too many people in this world, not the wrestling business, just generally speaking, social media has gotten us to the point where we all feel inadequate in some way, shape, or form because of the lives that other people are portraying. Everyone on social media. It's either their world is crumbling or the world is the best it could ever be, and everything is perfect, and it's like looking at like a June Cleaver kind of sitcom, you know? And
yes.
That's not true, man. I mean, people struggle every day and people triumph every day. Life just goes on whether we want it to or not. If we want to try to parade ourselves around pretending like our social media avatars are who we are outside of there, that's crap. And so that's not who I want to be. And so I do keep my personal life personal to a certain extent. But as far as this goes, as far as chasing the dream goes and discussing kind of the motivators that got me to do it, that I'm okay with being open about. And that I'm never going to fake, pull punches, or try to sugarcoat it or make it seem like it's anything other than what it is, which is I'm a guy that grew up that had a crappy childhood that said I'm not going to die with regret. And I don't care how it all plays out because I already feel like I've done something worthwhile. I tried.
Right. It's the people that don't try that actually fail in life.
I think so.
Yeah. You also had, not skipping past that because there's no transition there, so we're just going to move ahead.
Sure.
You got to meet William Regal, or you got some notes from William Regal. Talk about that. That's when I read that, I'm like, holy shit, this guy is really, really on the radar.
So it was a great opportunity. Evolve had a tryout down in Atlanta back in October. I was injured at the time, but not so injured that I couldn't work in the ring. I've since, had 2 surgeries to repair my injuries, and I've made a full recovery, which is why I'm now back in the ring. I've been in the ring a lot more than what I put on social media. I've just been doing a lot of house shows and a lot of stuff off the radar just to try to find my pace again, get my conditioning back. So it was October, Atlanta, Evolve tryout, and I, had reached out. Whether they accept everyone who wants to go or not, that I have absolutely no clue. But I reached out. Gabe said, yeah, come on down. Went down. William Regal was the guest speaker who also oversaw our tryout matches. He had kind of brought me into the fold in the seminar that he had because he liked my look, to be blunt. He said that in the business today, there are there's a trend of a lot of, smaller people that are doing really incredible things that I can only, admire, because I wouldn't even dare to try half these flips these guys are doing. But, he said as far as the old school guys that just look like they could kick your ass, there aren't a whole lot of them. And that was something that he liked about me. So in my match, it was a very short match, about 3.5, 4 minutes. We had a 5-minute, max or 5-minute time on that. And I worked heel. I ended up throwing the guy in a trap hold because again, I watch a lot of old matches and I've been, kind of peppering in things that a lot of guys don't do, axe handles and things like that. And so the trap hold was what caught his attention. So he pulled me off and just said, these are some of the things I like. These are some of the things that I didn't. These are some of the things I think you need to work on. These are some of the things I think you don't need to change. But to hear it from him was almost like, the word of God. And I know that might sound a little over the top, but to me it's not, because this is a guy and I didn't want to, become a fanboy. I don't use the word mark. I don't like it. Nah, neither does he actually, but I so I'll just say fanboy. I didn't want to become a fanboy. I didn't want to kind of geek out on him and tell him I've been watching him all my life and this and that, but man, I've been watching William Regal forever.
Who hasn't been?
Right, and I admire him because he was always just so good at telling story, and like Jerry Lawler, his strikes were just insane. They looked second to none. I mean, to me, William Regal and Jerry Lawler are two of the best, two of the best punchers in the business. So to have him giving me, criticism, positive criticism with brutal honesty, though, was, something that you just don't think is going to happen. And so he had said, please do not fall out of the fold. Please, try to stay active in pursuing things. Please look for opportunities. Please try to get down to, to a tryout. Now, it can be debated if he really wanted me for a tryout. He could have just invited me, right? So who knows? I mean, I know that to quote someone that I don't know would want to be quoted, but he is a person that you would recognize and you've seen in the ring in the WWE, says, at the end of the day, we're all green, right? At the end of the day, we're all green because we're always learning.
Right.
And so I think that the time, I'm big on timing in the world of professional wrestling, and I don't think that the time was right for me to get a tryout. So I was okay with that. Plus I had the surgeries, coming up, and I knew that, and I didn't know how they were going to go. And there's no mystery what they were. I had my elbow done, and I had a hernia operated on. And it was the hernia that was the question mark, because obviously anything like that, you just want to make sure that you're so careful and, come back. And so I waited until I got the medical green light from a doctor that actually did not want to give it to me because he thought that being a wrestler was crazy. But I made a recovery. It wasn't what it was. So he's like, good, go, do it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not holding my breath. I can tell you that I guess I do think that if I don't at least get a tryout, I will feel like I left something on the table in some capacity, but then it reverts back to, but that's out of my control, so I can't harp on it.
Right.
I've just heard, I've heard what the tryouts are like down there, physically exhausting, blow up drills and just beat you down for 3 days. And I want to feel that kind of sore. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel that, because when you go into a fight, like look at Rocky, right? And Rocky's the perfect example. He gave it everything he had, and he just didn't stop trying. He just kept moving. Didn't care if it looked good or if it looked bad, if he looked tired or if he looked strong. He just didn't stop trying, and that's something I know I can do. I mean, I don't stop trying. And I think that's why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do now. I don't give up.
On that same line, again, just bailing everything off your Facebook, you put your 2020 goals up, and a couple I'm going to throw aside, Dalton, just because everybody wants to do these, and I'm not saying they're garbage. Don't think I'm saying that, but better every match. Yes, everybody wants to do better every match. Win a championship. Yep, that's cool. I want to win a championship too, and I'm not being.
Yeah, but do you know why? I'm not trying to side rail, but you don't know why I want to win a championship.
I don't. So all right, I'll let you go.
No one does.
Right.
And well, this is something that because look, man, people want to win a championship for a variety of different reasons. Some want it for clout. Some want it so that they can say they did it. Some want it so that they can, parade around the pictures on social media. I am wrestling in honor of a young man who passed away long before his time. He was a wrestling fan through and through, John Cena especially. He loved John Cena. I had the opportunity to meet him once while he was alive, and then I had I'll call it the opportunity because it was a life lesson, to be a pallbearer to carry him to his final resting place when he passed. I've since visited his grave at least once a year. That was in 2013, I believe, so I've gone down there 6-7 times, but I've also gone down more than once. I've probably been down there 10 times. And every single time that I've been there, I've left something, whether it's a plate. I took a 45-pound plate. I'm sorry, a 25-pound plate, 25-pound plate, and I put an epoxy over it so it couldn't rust. And I put that down next to his tombstone because he's the strongest kid I ever knew, right? Myself and my friends that were in the Strongman community at the time, when we went down there, we delivered that plate. And so every time we go up there, I try to leave something. When I decided that I was going to start wrestling, I was dead set on, still am committed to, and will follow through with, if I'm fortunate enough to be put in a position to earn a title, I'm going to put it on his grave. My first title is going to be for him. I'm going to pay to have a replica bell made. I'm going to drive 5 hours to his family's house. I'm going to bang on the door. I'm going to give it to his mother. I'm going to say, this is for him. I won this for him. To me, he is the champion. He's the champion of my story. I would not be Dalton. My name is Justin, okay? I'm Justin. Dalton, to me, the reason that I chose that name is because I wanted to remember what it was that I was going after. And what it was that I was going after wasn't to be in the ring. It was to try to lift spirits for other people who maybe can't do it on their own. And to be sure that this kid's legacy lived on, because he was a fighter for his entire community. Small towns, man, they all pulled for him. I don't know how many people lived in that town, but every single one of them was on his side. And I don't want him to be forgotten about. And so I want to win a title, and I want to drive there, and I want to show it to his mother. I want to hug her. I want to tell her that this kid is still loved. He's not forgotten. I want to walk up the hill that he's buried on. I don't want to put it on his grave. And then his mother can take it away when I leave, and she can put it in the house, or she can leave it. She can do what she wants with it. but I want him to have it. So that's why I want to win the title.
Okay.
Anything else, I don't care. But it's for him.
That's amazing. When I read that on there, I was just pushing it aside, and I apologize. I really do.
You don't have to apologize. Nobody knows that story, you know. But that's what it is.
The one that really grabbed me, because I was going to throw Wrestle Abroad across and get a tryout, the 10 hospital visits for kids. That again, and that tag team's the story you just told us then, right?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Have you hit any yet this year?
I had an opportunity to go to a children's hospital in Knoxville. However, my second surgery, kind of derailed that because I didn't want to go in there looking all banged up and beat up. So what my thought was, we're in March right now, and I thought, okay, so December and January I was healing. Okay, February I started getting stronger, healthier. March I should pretty much be back in the groove. So April, May is really when I'm going to try to start reaching out to, hospitals, children's youth centers, anywhere that I think that I can, be of use to go in and kind of just, hang, tell my story if they want to hear me talk, put a puzzle together with them if that's what they're looking for. I mean, just be there, just volunteer. I mean, sometimes just being there is enough. And I didn't want to be there in a capacity where I looked weak or that I was still recovering. A lot of these kids need somebody that looks strong, somebody that can play the part. To piggyback back on that story about Dalton, when I went to his funeral, his grandmother grabbed me by the hand and walked me to him. It's my first time ever seeing a dead child. And, it was tough. So she held my hand. She walked me up to his casket. My mother had given me a Curious George doll when I was a little kid. I was like 8 or 9. I sent it to Dalton when he was going in the hospital for one of his treatments, and I said, "This is George. He's been with me my whole life. Now I want him to be with you in the hospital." He kept it with him in the hospital, kept it with him by his side. When I went and visited him, he gave me Neil, who's a sock monkey that lives in my gear bag. Every single show that I go to, Neil is with me. Neil's in my Jeep right now. So he gave me Neil. And when Dalton passed away, his grandmother walked me up and they buried him with George. This is something that's been in my life for decades. And, it was there.
So you brought up that Jerry Lawler has some of the best punches, and I see that you actually shared a locker room with him. Lawler's one of my favorites because he talks. He was great. He's a great wrestler as well, but I've always liked his shtick. Did you get any pointers from him, when you were in the locker room? Just how was it sharing the locker room with him?
I didn't get any pointers. I also didn't ask. I do try to make it a point to respect everybody's time and privacy. And of course, they're getting hit up by everyone and their brother when they go to these shows. And so if it doesn't feel right, then it doesn't feel right. And it just, the opportunity didn't really present itself for me to go up and talk to him. Short of the very brief program we ran together. There's a video somewhere on social media of him in the ring. He's getting surrounded by a couple of guys. I don't recall their names. Memphis guys. And then I don't know if our music hit. I think our music hit. And myself and the guy I was tagging with for a very short time, we walked out with some baseball bats and kind of chased these guys off, lifting Jerry's arm up in the air and in a moment of triumph. So that was all that I had with him. However, a couple months later, I was with Al Snow at the Louisville convention, the GalaxyCon, I think it's called there.
Yeah.
We were there just representing OVW and hanging out and meeting people and passing out flyers and whatever. And Al was just being awesome because that's what Al does. And so Jerry was a couple of tables down. We actually had an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit then, but it was just casual conversation. No real wrestling stuff.
Okay.
Arn Anderson, on the other hand, Arn Anderson and Ricky Steamboat they gave me knowledge that it was like drinking water out of a fire hose.
Yeah, at WrestleCade this past year, in November in Winston-Salem. By the way, you should look into getting some matches signed and everything on that. Big proponent for WrestleCade. We had the opportunity to sit down with Arn and talk with him, and between him and Al, they know more wrestling than people forgot. They're geniuses, right?
Yeah, they're brilliant.
You also worked with one of my favorites growing up too, and it might be the same kind of scenario where you're going to say you didn't get to talk to him a lot, but I want to give him his props. You were on the same card with Koko B. Ware. Was he fun loving?
No, Koko and I talked a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, Koko, because Koko, he had initiated the conversation just because he thought it was a little unusual that I was at this particular show. Working it, he kind of made the assumption that I was there, that I had maybe been assigned God, and that I was there doing whatever. I don't know. He thought I was something that I wasn't, but it opened up the doors for communication anyway. And so then he started giving me some amazing pointers. Now, what's funny that you just brought him up, and I had brought up Ricky Steamboat prior to it, was the two guys had worked one another, I think, Madison Square Garden, however many years ago. Well, that night, Koko gave me his version of the match. And then, by chance, Ricky Steamboat gave me his side months later. And it was, they synced up, they were giving me the same story, and just to hear it from two completely different perspectives was actually pretty awesome, because how many times have you heard two sides of a story from two people that you grew up idolizing,
Right.
It's real.
Did it bring you back to that match? Did you visualize it the whole time as they were talking about it?
So I didn't actually. So the match itself, I only had vague memories of, and the reason was it wasn't until I was later in life, before I started wrestling, just later as a man, that I realized the importance of some of the guys that I overlooked because they weren't so physically massive. You need to understand that it was the size of the guys that drew me in. So even Macho Man Randy Savage, who, let's face it, he's one of the top 3 in history. God, I don't think it's an understatement to say he's in the top 10. That should be a given. And then, of course, it's a matter of opinion from there. But to me, he's one of the greatest workers of all time, right? Growing up, I didn't care for him. I thought nothing of him.
Wow.
I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better.
Right.
I thought he wasn't, I thought he wasn't big, so he's not as important. Think of these guys, right, that slipped under the radar to kids like me, boneheads that couldn't know, a wristlock from a wristwatch, right? Because they weren't Andre or Hulk, or I think the only guy that was able to really have an effect on me as a kid that wasn't hulking in stature, although he was 6'5", was Jake Roberts. Because when he would talk, when he would cut a promo, it was as if he was talking to you.
Right through the TV.
Oh my gosh. And I'm not going to lie. Anytime I cut a promo, at least once while I'm talking, I think of him and how good he was, and then I just want to stop talking because I'm failing in comparison to what he was able to do, and the way that he could just elevate his voice, bring it up, bring it down, whisper, almost like he whispered, because he would make you lean into your TV, physically sitting in your chair, you would lean in to hear what this guy had to say while he was looking at you, right? And that's when he would just, man.
And then his eyes would go right through you, piercing you. Yes.
Piercing.
Yes.
Piercing. And so he is on. I have a short list of guys that I hope to not only. I have a long list of guys that I'd love to meet. Who doesn't? But on a short list of guys who, I guess I would. It would be one of those do it now, ask for forgiveness later type of things. Where, like I said with Jerry Lawler, I didn't want to interrupt him. I didn't want to break his process. Look, man, if I'm ever near Jake the Snake Roberts, it's going to be a one-time deal. I'm never going to have the opportunity again. And so I'm probably going to go ahead and be intrusive and try to pick his brain for 30 seconds, because what's the worst he can say? No. What's the best he can say? Yes. And then I have some of the greatest advice from, one of the most iconic in-ring personalities in the history of the business.
Yeah, I've met him a couple times in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I didn't have the same talks that you would have with him. I was, the fanboy. I'm duly named. My mother named me correct, Mark. I am. You hate the word, and Regal hates the word, but we love it because it's my name. So I am really a Mark for all of you guys because you guys bust your ass for us, for me to do this shtick and help you guys out as much as I can. So yeah.
Well, we appreciate guys like you, and we appreciate anyone that takes the time to watch a show. Like I drove. So I'm trying to think of the way to word this because, of course, now I'm going through a transition with my personality, so to speak, right? As
Correct.
far as yeah. So I guess what I'll say is I had to drive out 5 hours, like 5.5 hours out, 5 hours back, to the middle of nowhere in the Smokies this weekend to work. And, it was a squash and 3 moves, literally 3 moves, a kick to the gut, a gut wrench across the ring, a spear. And I had to really, bring the heat and make people hate me. So I used my words, I cut a promo first and used my words. And I'm there saying things to these people, and there were probably only like 25 people in the crowd, right? But every single one of them, I just wanted to like high five and hug and handshake and thank, right? Because these people were at a place they didn't want to be, eating food they didn't want to eat, sitting with people they didn't want to sit with, paying money they didn't want to spend because they love this business, because they love the show. And it's without them. I know every wrestler says the same thing. Without you, there would be no us. Man, there's truth to that. There's truth to that. Look, and if you're watching a movie, people knock extras, right? Without extras, the streets in New York City would be empty. It'd just be weird. It would just be an actor walking down the street and nobody else is around him. How strange would that be? Everybody is a piece of the puzzle, everybody. And that's why one of the things that the WWE is doing right, not that I'm in a position to say what anyone in the business does right or wrong, but as a fan, because I'm also still a fan, one of the things that they are doing very right is that they are referring to the universe over and over and over again, because without the universe, there would be no business. There would be no WWE.
Spot on. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Yes. Let's break from wrestling for a little bit and get to know Justin, as you said it. What are some of your guilty pleasures? Break from that you're vegan or keto or whatever the hell you are. But what do you really like? Are you a chocolate guy or what's going on?
Hang on 1 second. I'm just trying to. I gotta walk down the hall here. I can't hear you right now. I don't know what their conversation was, but they'll be giggly and giddy. Okay, so what you said? Guilty pleasures.
From food to just something that, like, if you have some downtime and you're like, damn it, I'm playing some video games.
All right, look, this is the point in the conversation where I'm just trying to find a place. Okay, I'm in a bathroom. I'm in a bathroom.
Yes.
Here we go. All right, guilty pleasures. One more time. What do we got?
Anything from food to video games to anything. And by the way, that's not getting edited out because you're legit in the bathroom right now. That's awesome. What do you like to do in your downtime?
So I want to be able to call myself a gamer. I'm just not good at them. So I'll play, but I suck.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, so I got Xbox One, and I'll do the Call of Duty whenever a new Call of Duty comes out. But I got the old Nintendo, that like system that has like 100 games on it. So I'll play like Contra, Metroid, or whatever, stuff like that. So I like video games. I actually like puzzles. That's something I don't even think my wife knows because we don't really have any in the house. So I like puzzles, man. I'll sit and I'll make a puzzle. I think that probably comes from like my grandfather or something, who knows. And I love going to movies. I have a whole Quentin Tarantino sleeve, goes from my wrist on my right arm all the way up to, I'm looking at it right now, my collarbone, and then across my entire right pec. Soon it will cover the entire backside of my arm over to the back of my shoulder. It's all Quentin Tarantino characters or things that he's written, directed, or produced. And parts of the story, because I love storytelling, and Tarantino, as controversial as he may be, he's one of the greatest storytellers that's ever lived.
So the next thing was going to be your favorite style of movies, but I guess you just answered that. What is your all-time favorite movie then?
Actually, so my all-time favorite movie is not a Tarantino film. It really depends on my mood, but what I more often than not end up leaning on is a movie called Warrior. You know what Warrior is?
No clue.
Yeah, so Warrior, starring Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy, a young Tom Hardy before Bane, a couple years before Bane, 2 or 3 years before he was Bane. It's loosely based on actual events where two brothers ended up facing off in the main event of an MMA tournament. I think that the actual events were just that two brothers were in the tournament. I think that was it. But they, of course, fictionalized the story. And it's a really powerful story. To me, it's the closest thing to a modern-day Rocky that doesn't have Stallone. Because, of course, Creed and Creed 2 were both great films, but they had Rocky in them, you know?
Right.
So this is the closest thing to a modern-day portrayal of the Rocky story, an underdog school teacher that's doing MMA fights in parking lots at strip clubs at night to try to make ends meet to pay his mortgage for, his family, his wife, and his 2 little girls. One has some health issues. And Tom Hardy's on the other side of things where he went AWOL from the military and he's kind of just lost pain meds, alcohol, rediscovers his love for the world of wrestling. He's a high school youth wrestler and starts doing MMA. And, you can imagine how the story goes from there. It's a really motivating, uplifting story about an underdog that doesn't back down. And fun fact, Kurt Angle's in it.
I was going to check it out prior to you saying Kurt Angle's in it, but Warrior guys, let's all watch that. Maybe we can review it for an episode or something, and have you back on to tell us how stupid we are when we do our review, right?
I've seen it about 30 times. I would love to talk about that movie.
Awesome. We'll make that happen for sure. What else is going on? You say you're kind of in like transition of this and that. I don't know. Let's just give me something personal real quick that many people don't know about you without going down any weird line.
Yeah, sure. I love cats. Dude.
Nothing against it. I just wasn't expecting that.
Okay, so I love animals, love cats. I hit a deer. January 4th, this promotion asked me to come out and clothesline a guy, just a guest spot, because I, had a following at the venue they were at, and my wife and I were leaving, and we hit a buck, full size, huge buck. I drive a Jeep Compass or Cherokee or whatever it is, one of those, and it put my Jeep in the shop for 3 weeks. When I walked up on the deer with a knife in my hand, thinking I was actually going to have the stones to put it out of its misery if it wasn't already, which I wasn't, by the way. Spoiler alert, I was going to just sit there and cry until the thing died. I was all teary-eyed, right, because it was just I killed an animal. I'm a big softie for animals, but cats especially. If I go to somebody's house and they've got cats, I'll sit on the floor and roll around with them.
Nice. Side note to the deer thing, did you keep it? Us up here in Pennsylvania, if we hit it, we instantly take it home, gut it, skin it, and we are eating it the next day. No?
No, I walked up on it. It was it was what it was, and went to move it, grabbed its paw. It just didn't feel alive because it certainly wasn't. I couldn't bring myself to even drag it off the road. I walked away. Some old man, the guy was 80, middle of the night, middle of nowhere, but he sees me walking away from the carcass, stops, makes sure I'm okay. He gets out, guy's just old school, badass, and just goes, puts some gloves on, and drags this thing off the road and drives away, and basically did the dirty work for me because I just wasn't, couldn't bring myself to do it. And it was in that moment that I realized this guy is more of a man than me, and I'm okay to admit it.
And he probably had a Marlboro hanging out of his mouth as well at the same time, right?
You know it. He was that. That's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch back to wrestling a little bit. And the first one might be a little bit of a hot point. As I said, I really don't go hot a lot, but I just saw this recently. Rumors of Sonny Ono representing you? Is this something we can touch on, or what the hell?
Yeah, there's not much to say. I had somebody that he represents had said, this is a guy that you really need to touch base with.
I sent him an email along with some footage and some photos or whatever. He said, "This is, yeah, man, let's have a conversation. I'd like to discuss, I'd like to just have a discussion with you." Because I had said I'm looking for representation, because at the time I thought that was something that I needed. Because this is going back, I don't know, before my surgeries, I think. Maybe it was like November, maybe it was sometime at the end of 2019. And as life happens, it just didn't pan out. We didn't connect. I was on Twitter last night or the night before. I'm still learning the whole Twitter thing, because it was
good luck.
Something I just didn't. Well, yeah, it's not. It's like at first I thought it wasn't for me, but then I find it to be very informative. As long as you don't take one person's word for something, it's a good way to learn about. Like, I hate to bring it up, Kobe. Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw it, and I was like, and that was how I was like, I'm not going to take this seriously because it could be a hoax. However, I also think it's worth looking into. Looked into it, sure enough, right? So it is a place to at least get to be relatively informed enough to go do some research, to learn about other things, to make sure you are actually informed and not misinformed. So I'm starting to like Twitter, and I was on last night. Don't remember who it was. Somebody posted a couple screenshots from the conversation. He was bringing somebody, I don't even remember who, out to Tampa, wanted like box seats for WrestleMania, tickets to Disney, all sorts of stuff. Man, I'm going down with a 6'6", 350-pound dude from Chicago, and we're sleeping in our car, okay, because we don't have the money to get a hotel. We don't know where we're working. We are booked on one show for Alex Porteau on March 29th, which is my buddy's birthday, the guy I'm going with. And ironically enough, my birthday is the day before. So we're spending our birthday week. Yeah, so we're spending our birthday weekend driving WrestleMania. And we'll be down there. We're staying for the week. We're hoping we can get some gigs. I'm going to go help out with Ring of Honor a little bit backstage. And then I'm going to go over. Impact gave me the green light to go and, help out over there and maybe roll around a little bit. They're just such great guys to hang with. They're such good people. I'm not trying to put them over, man. This is sincere. I love the guys at Impact Wrestling. They're so damn cool. So I know that I've got some stuff, but I also know that I'm not making any money while I'm there. And so, yeah, we're going down with sacrifice and just to be there, just to be part of the energy, man. So, like, then you get, on the other hand, this guy who's sending, there were screenshots of the conversation. So it's like, you saw what he had to say. He's asking probably ridiculous, man.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So now it's safe to say I'm trying to do more on-camera work moving forward. My shoot job, I work in film and TV, actually. And I want to try to switch and get on camera more. So I am looking for, representation for, commercial work or music videos or whatever I can get. Maybe I'll email you some photos of this guy that has been lingering around OVW wearing a mask that I've heard about.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who he is. He's got some good tattoos, man.
Yeah,
this guy's got some cool tattoos, and he's probably really handsome underneath that mask. I don't know. He's about my height and my size, but
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait on that. Is what the word is.
Well, you won't have to wait long.
No,
but,
I know that too.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm just I want to try to get into that business a little bit more. But as far as wrestling goes, I just don't know that I need representation because I don't know that I'm worth. And this isn't a dig on myself. I don't know that I'm worth representation. I'm happy at OVW, and if Al suggests that I go somewhere else, to do something here or there, I'll go do it here or there. I'm really just putting a lot of trust in him because this guy's been in the business for, almost 40 years. I think 37 years, okay? But he knows a thing or two, and I trust him because I have no reason not to. So I'm just following his process and really learning a lot along the way. I can tell you right now that OVW is the best thing that's happened to me in the business yet.
Yeah. You were reading my notes, actually, because we were going to shift gears to OVW a little bit more. Why OVW? What are you going to do in OVW? And then, how do you love the partnership with OVW and Impact? So all those are on the table, as you already touched that you love the guys at Impact. So,
yeah.
Well, I don't want to say who are you going to target right off the bat, but you clearly have to have targets at OVW when you show up, right?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
I got one for sure, but I'm not gonna
Oh,
say
no.
who it is. I'm just gonna say he's gonna have a very bad day.
Good. That's what we want to hear.
He's gonna have a very bad day. I've been watching OVW for a long time. I don't have a clue who he was. It was a friend of mine when I was in my early 20s, and he had access to be able to watch, like, the then Leviathan, now Dave Bautista, character persona. Brock Lesnar, although I didn't know who he was at the time. I mean, the Cena prototype, right? The prototype John Cena. I was able to see all these things. I don't remember how, but I remember the prototype very well. I learned about his bodybuilding story and all that. And so OVW had been on my radar for a long time, and it was a place I never thought that I would be. So when I went and I learned, from Dr. Tom, and I knew that it was time to try to find a what's next. OVW was my goal. And I had met Al like 15 years ago, Tough Enough Season 3 tryout. I got in Chicago, and I had got cut on the casting episode. I was told that I was too much like two of the characters that they had. So it just didn't work out. And when I saw the show, because only one of those two guys was at the Chicago casting, the other one was at one of the other. I think he was at Morrison's in Missouri or wherever it was, Mississippi. So they were right. I was too much like these guys. But I met Al. We went in, and it was like, okay, you didn't have a ring, and you had to try out to be a wrestler. So it was okay. Go in, do 14 jumping jacks, 6 sit-ups, 5 air squats, go. And you're like, what? And then you just start moving. And then right after, they have you cut a promo. And I got cotton mouth. And he took his bottle of water, put the cap on it, and just fired it at me. Like, drink it.
Yep.
Like, drink it and keep talking. And that was actually my second time being in the Tough Enough, I don't want to say process, but, near the process. That I was actively in the process. I think like 70,000 people tried out. And back then we had to send VHS tapes, I was like, what can I do to look different on my VHS tape? I don't know how to wrestle, but I can lift up the side of a car. So I lifted up the entire side of the Pontiac.
Damn.
And both the driver's front and rear tire, and so it got on their radar. And then they had done phone interviews with whoever. I think Kevin Kelly might have been one of my contacts, and they took 75 people to the tapings for the casting. 3 locations. One was Hotel Monaco in Chicago. The other one was somewhere else. And then the other one was on like a ship. That was the one Morrison was on. And so I had met Al back then, but I never thought that I was going to get to actually wrestle for him. And after I had left Knoxville, I reached out to Al and just expressed interest. I went up and watched a couple of shows, drove out and just watched as a fan in the seats, not at the Davis Arena. There were house shows, and had made sure to talk to him. Jeff Jarrett was around at the time, so I was talking with Jeff, and just kind of mingling and helping put chairs away, right, and helping just contribute. Being a fan that was getting his hands dirty, which isn't always the best thing to do, except they also saw my size and they knew what it was all about. I was trying to get close to them, and they let me do it. And so Al wasn't there, but Jeff Jarrett especially was, hanging out with him. And so, long story short, I ended up going up and hanging with Al a couple times and just kind of picking his brain at the Davis Arena. I expressed my interest. He had said he'd be willing to give me a shot, roll around in the ring, learn this, learn that. And, now here we are, and I'm just really excited for any anything, any opportunity he's willing to give me. I'm never going to say no to him. I trust him wholeheartedly, which is dangerous in a lot of ways. But to circle back to being vulnerable, sometimes you just have to allow yourself to, kind of just say, just like that movie with Jim Carrey, Yes Man. How fun
Yes,
was it?
man.
Yes, man. Right?
You have to watch.
I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying yes, and I'm learning. Anything that he teaches you is something that you want to retain. The problem is that he teaches you so much. It's like, again, drinking water from a fire hose. You just retain what you can. Like Jay Bradley gave me some great pointers the other day. I forget half of what he said, so when I see him tomorrow night, I'm just going to pick his brain some more.
Yeah, those guys are all great down there. I'm sure you talked to Rip. I'm sure you talked to Jay, Revolver. All those guys are just a great bunch of guys down at OVW. I agree.
Yeah, and I don't get to see Rip all that often. I've seen him a couple times, but I haven't picked his brain. But Jay, Al, Revolver, the guys they bring in, Rhino, who's been there a few times. I just make conversation, and if it presents itself, like I was at that show out in the middle of nowhere the other night. Johnny Swinger was there, and so we was talking business. Kind of organically happened. He's really knowledgeable as well.
Just stay away from Chad Miller. That's all I want to say.
I'm not going to stay away from Chad Miller. The man is giving me a shot.
All right. Well, we love him. We always throw him under the bus. All right.
I know.
All right. We've had you on for a while. We have a couple more questions that we always end with, and I'm sure we're going to talk to you again soon, if not sooner than later, about several different things and the movie The Warrior. But let's wrap this up with the three things that we always do. All right. You're young in the business, air quotes young in the business, but, you have somebody coming up, a little guy saying, hey, Dalton, how can I get in the business, and what kind of advice will you give me? What do you tell them?
Definitely it depends on how old they are. I mean, if they're 10, my answer is going to be different. But somebody that's of an age to be able to wrestle is get training, get proper training.
That's what I meant.
That's a certainty.
I didn't mean somebody 10. I definitely meant somebody 18, 19 that's good to go.
I had somebody that was like, I don't know, I'm bad with age. He's definitely a young teenager. He's probably like 12 or 13. He asked me that question the other day. And I was like, do not do what you see on the backyard videos on YouTube, right? Because you got that guy, I don't even know his name. There's no need to even mention it, but the one who's hurting himself, jumping through chairs and fluorescent light bulbs. That's don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. We will not mention that. That's stupid.
So it's stupid.
Your dream match, and there's three things to this dream match. Please tell me you're going to be able to get this. Who, what arena, and what stipulation do you want?
Can I be in the match?
You have to be in the match. It's you.
Well, I don't have to be. Well, no, because if I have a dream match, it's pretty much coming true, man. I've wanted to see Brock and Drew bang heads for a long time.
Not what you want as a fanboy. You being in the match, your working dream match.
I would like to wrestle. I would like to work Drew McIntyre, not because he's hot right now, but because the guy's paid his dues and he's a physical specimen. He's an absolute savage. I would like to work Drew McIntyre. I don't really care what the arena is, so I guess for this, I want to go back home. So whatever they're calling it in Boston now, TD Bank North Garden or whatever it is. No, you know what? Screw it. I want to wrestle, because this is Fantasyland, I want to wrestle Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, in front of everybody in my hometown that told me that I wasn't going to make it, that I wasn't going to get in the business, because that's where I grew up and that's where I was poor and that's where I lived in a damn tool shed and a car and a coffee shop, literally sleeping on the floor of a coffee shop when I was 15. I want to go back there and I want to wrestle Drew McIntyre as the champion. And I think it would be fun to do it in a, you know what? This is boring, but in just a regular, good old-fashioned match.
It's not boring. You guys are two behemoths just battling. That would be amazing. I'd sign me up. And
I just, I've thought about that, daydreamed about that all the time. I've always daydreamed about being able to go back go back home and be on the biggest stage in them all. And it's not spiteful. It's actually just to be able to, you know, showcase what dreams look like, you know, when you're willing to go after them.
I didn't know if you were stone cold in all of Gillette Stadium or not, you know, saluting them, but you're going to do it the right way. I would be saluting everybody saying right here, but you're a better man already. And finally, give everybody your social media so they can start following you and see where you're going to be, what's going on, how you're going to destroy OVW here in the near future.
I appreciate it. So Dalton Wade, DaltonWade, official. That's Instagram, Dalton Wade official. Twitter, Dalton Wade 615. Facebook's just Dalton Wade. I have the official and I have the 615 on the other ones because it wouldn't let me just be Dalton Wade. Apparently Dalton Wade's already a thing. It's a real estate agency in Florida. So it's funny. So just Dalton Wade, Instagram and Twitter. My YouTube game sucks, but that's something that I'm going to try to work on moving forward because I know it's a necessary evil. Because you got to understand, I don't really like social media. I know that it's a necessary evil and I can appreciate it for what it is, but you know, if we could get through this business the way that they used to back in the day, where you drive from town to town and you have a headshot and, you know, you're trying to get some tapes and VHS tapes in front of a promoter that may or may never watch them, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Tape trading days, yes.
Yeah. So, Dalton Wade. Instagram's pretty much my go-to. I'm not great with any of the other ones, but I like pictures, so Instagram's been my go-to.
Because it's easy, isn't it? That's why. I'm throwing you in the bus already, like we've met and drank beers or something already, but it's easy. You take a picture and you put it on the damn thing. Yeah.
Well, each of the pictures, though, I try to put a little bit of a story with them. You know, there was a whole time I deleted all the pictures, but back in the day when I was first getting ready to even go get trained, I did a whole photo series with a professional photographer of a certain, persona, right, with a mask. And I told a whole story over the course of like 40 or 50 pictures. And it was interesting to a lot of people, and I hated pulling that stuff down, but I had to pull it down.
Wow. Pull them back up. Pull it back up right now.
No, it's gone.
Oh, they're deleted.
You'll like the stuff that's going to start getting pumped out there, though. That I can promise you.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
You'll see it more from them. But like what I'll say is you should tune into the show tomorrow night, and if you're free, you should probably try to get to the Davis Arena on Saturday.
Duly noted. Duly noted. All right, Dalton, we're going to let you go. And like I said, I'm sure we'll talk to you one about the movie and then more coming with OVW. Thank you for joining us on Can Crushers today. I kept you a little long, but it was interesting.
It was interesting. It was fun talking to you.
He might be the first one that said it was fun talking to us, or me, or all of it, whatever. It was fun talking to us? That's awesome. Guys, didn't I tell you at the beginning that this guy has had a life? I love what he's doing. I love all his goals, but I love why he's doing it. It's unbelievable. The story about why Dalton Wade is Dalton Wade... we had to stop. We really did. We had to stop and kind of reset as we were doing this. It's unbelievable. More on that in the future as we have something lined up in the back burner or whatever, however you want to say it, because this is wonderful. It really is. Man, I hope I'm part of the championship win when it comes for Dalton. I hope I get to see him ruin somebody and taking that title off of anybody and then just walk it along, drive it wherever to that grave site. That is just a wonderful story. That's being an amazing human being. Again, throw wrestling aside. We love wrestling, but when you have somebody doing this and continuing that legacy for the youngster that passed away, I don't know what else to say. Guys, if there's anything you should do, you should follow Dalton Wade because of that, because of the store is awesome, and he just wants to make memories and touch everybody, touch their hearts and pull at their strings. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just he's got me all tied up. He really does. So thanks, Dalton, for coming on the show. Thanks to Al Snow and Chad Miller for making this all possible. We love it. We love talking to the guys from OVW. So, again, guys, go to ratethispodcast.com/Can Crushers. Give us a review. What we really like is when you guys like, share, comment. You know, all that stuff that people beg for. Yeah, well, you know, we like to beg for it too. Just pass this along. Let everybody know how cool Can Crushers are. And then we love talking to wrestlers. We really do. My mom duly named me Mark. I say it all the time. I am a mark for this business. I love it. But Dalton says something about there's a Saturday night special going on at Davis Arena, 4400 Shepherdville Road, this Saturday. That will be Saturday night special. It's called Hunting Grounds, guys. I don't know what's going to happen, but if you're there, you should probably keep an eye out. Somebody could be ruined. I don't know. Guys, remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. See you Sunday.